Welcome to Our Life. Today is all about the 3 E's: empower, encourage, and educate. Just as women, to build a strong society, men also need to be empowered, encouraged, and educated. So before we start to move back many layers, I want to give you a removing the mask fact. So were you aware that the prison system in the United States gets $60,000 a year for prisoners? And also, were you aware that prisoners, while they're incarcerated, pay $20 to $60 a day? So when we return from this quick break, I'm going to introduce you to my phenomenal men that will be sitting with me on this panel, and we're going to get ready to peel back several layers of masks. We'll be right back. I'm here with my panel. I have to laugh because y'all don't understand what I'm going through here. But I want to introduce everybody that's here with me. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Hurt Porter over here. And we have Bishop Ricky Ross that's with us. We have Willie Adolph that's here with us. And we have Mr. Nolan Davis that's here with us. So I'm going to start off with just some easy stuff before we break into the deep conversation. So I'm start with Hurt. It's easy, so I should be okay. So you're an 11-year veteran, Navy Hospital Corps combat medic, correct?
Yeah, Navy Hospital Corpsman.
Okay, yeah. Okay. You've been being in the military. When you look at the world today, what do you see?
Well, on a positive or negative note?
Either. What do you see?
I see a bunch of people that are blind to reality. There's a focus on points and aspects of life that don't really get us through life. They only make us feel better. And there's one thing about being former military is that in order for success to happen, truth always must be present. You know, you can lie to anybody else, but your team, you must tell the truth to, because in order to know the truth, in order to succeed, you got to know the truth. Okay. And there's a lot of times where we're not given the truth.
Tell us about Unbreakable Legacy.
Unbreakable Legacy is a corporation that has a couple of subsidiaries. It's a corporation. It's a flooring company. Mm-hmm. And then there's a subsidiary that deals with personal development and growth. Mm-hmm. And they all work together within each other, because with the corporation, you get the employment, you get the people coming in, learning their skills. With the subsidiary, you get the training and the development that I feel that all corporations must do for their employees.
Okay. We're going to move on over here to Mr. Nolan. This.
Hey.
A Perfect Gentleman TV show. You have a video company, you're up social media. You also are the reigning, correct me if I'm wrong, Guinness Book holder for the most interviews in 24 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
You got a lot going on.
I do.
That's why I'm nervous.
Why you?
Tell us how you work with others to help to have integrity and believe in themselves, because you work with men.
I do. I work with all types of people. I usually like to focus on business owners, because those people are most passionate about what they do. They feel like they have, a God gift, a talent of some sort. And so to really develop that, to see the potential in that, to give them what they need. I remember when I was growing up, it was only one person that really believed in me, and I only needed that one person. So a lot of times I try my best to be that one person in a lot of people's lives. So from Perfect Gentlemen, of giving those guys everything they need to be the best version of themselves, to Up Social, to giving those business people all the resources and the marketing that's needed to really move them forward. I'm all about moving forward.
Tell us about the companies, because you do a lot.
So Vids Inc. is a video production company that was really a spinoff of Perfect Gentlemen. Up Social is a networking group that we're opening up multiple locations. Everything is absolutely free for the business owner. Everything from breakfast to the workshops, and then we get thousands of streams to help get business. So we network right there in the room, and then we network digitally as well.
And I've been there, so I have to say every Thursday, every business owner, if you have a business, you should go, because he allows you to promote your business right there for free.
Absolutely.
And you get donuts.
And kolaches, yes. Yes.
Bishop Ricky Ross, 25 years in ministry.
Yes, ma'am.
So as a pastor, what is your take on our world today?
It's a sad state of affairs. Looking at it on a biblical standpoint and then just on the human side, because I live in this world, but I'm not of this world. And to see so many different, as Brother Hurt said, so many different facets of how we live and the way society is and how we embrace a lot of things, and to see that the second coming is soon, because we're looking at the signs of the times, and to know that before anything gets better, it's going to have to get worse.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it all. Everybody wants things to change now, and we want laws to change, and we want gun control, and we want, now they're fighting birth control, and so many different things. We want an immediate change, but it's going to get worse before it gets any better. But if we continue to stay, for those who do believe, if we continue to stay with the word and stay with God and never deviate, he's going to see the righteous. We're going to prevail anyway. So you already know the end of the story before it gets to the end. So.
Okay, press pause on that. Tell me about Ross Renovation.
I started Ross Renovations about 5 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago, in the face of a failing economy. If you all can remember when the oil prices and the pipelines, and they shut down everything, the president shut down all the pipelines. I was a QA manager at the time, working for a company in Spring. We made bit breakers for the oil industry. And when they start shutting down the drilling, of course, there's no use for a QA manager because there's nothing to QA anymore. And so the hours started getting cut. We were going from 80 hours a week down to 70, 50, then down to 24. So I was thinking one day, I was sitting in my desk and I said, what can I do next? This is about to dwindle up and dry out. And God said, remember what you've already been taught. My father was a carpenter by trade also. And we had to get out as young men, young boys, and help him to do anything. We built houses, we built churches, and all of that stuff, it was put on the back shelf. But when it came down to it, and the days I hated being out there with him, I decided I'm gonna go back to what I know. So I started putting my ad in the paper, Craigslist, just to do small jobs. And now here we are 5 years later. I have 10 employees, and we do a lot of business. God has really blessed us, and I'm grateful that my father was there to give me the hard knocks, and instill that knowledge and wisdom, because it wasn't through school that I learned how to read a tape measure. It was through Dad. It wasn't through school that I learned how to use a miter saw or a skill saw or a reciprocator. It was through Dad. And so I thank him. He's gone on, but I thank him for giving me what I need to succeed. And he's gone off the scene, but I credit him every day.
Our last gentleman we have up here is Mr. Willie Adolph. Hey, Willie. What gives you the drive to keep going?
Every day I wake up, and I know there's a lot of days that there's a lot of people that don't wake up. So my drive is to be better than I was the day before.
Okay.
My kids watch what I do and how I do it. And as we know in society, they mimic what we do and how we do it.
From a little age.
And when they do, they see us act out of control, they act out of control.
Yeah.
If we act and try to keep our composure, most of them, they try, to their capacity. So every day just being able to stand up, give God thanks to move forward, that's what gives me my drive.
Okay. Tell us about the Adolph Group.
The Adolph Group is, it's a real estate credit repair company. And basically, my wife and I started it. And back when we first purchased our home, we didn't hire a real estate agent. And we had a 2-bedroom apartment and 4 kids. So it was kind of tight. And we finally found a place that we liked. And we went on and put in the earnest money and did everything. And they was like, great, you're approved. We can do this, we can do that. So we turned in our notice. Well, 2 weeks prior to closing, we were told that we weren't gonna have our house.
Wow.
So we couldn't get our apartment back because they already rented it out. So now I'm asking, okay, well, we need our money back so we can move. They said, no, you don't get your earnest money back. And that's because we didn't have representation. We didn't know the laws. We went in there thinking we trusted somebody else. Not saying you can't trust everybody, but it's always good to have someone to help you move ahead, because nobody can get ahead alone. So, and that always haunted us. So we kind of got into the mortgage side of it to learn, well, why? And then it confirmed into the real estate side. And then when the market crashed, guess what? A lot of people lost houses. We lost some houses as well. And what do people do with people with bad credit? Oh, I'll get back with you, or get back with me when you get yourself together. Well, that was my opportunity to say, hey, I want to make a difference. I want to help people get their credit together, not just to buy a house, but to feel good about themselves. Sometimes it's just that sense of peace.
Yeah.
You know, I can go in and buy a tent if I want to. Or if I can go buy a mansion, I can go buy a car. I don't have to pay a double deposit on a cell phone. I don't have to put $10,000 down on a 95 Mazda. You know, so with that, we move forward. Until this day, we help people, we educate people. Just because they had some troubles in the past doesn't mean it has to follow them to the future, because some of the things that's on their credit, they don't even know that we can help them fix it. And on the real estate side, we know about so many programs that can help others to get into these homes for a little money down, in some cases no money down, but each one is a case-by-case scenario.
Because you guys did a real estate show. I did a show after Harvey, and we talked about real estate and showing people, telling people what they need to do in this situation where their house got flooded out completely and lost their house. I was going to take a break, but I'm fixing to jump into these questions.
All right.
So they're not easy no more. So the first segment, we're talking about slavery in prison system. So let's just start. Do you think in slavery time, and this is for any one of you can answer, if you don't want to answer, that's fine. Do you think in slavery time we came together more as black people?
In the days of slavery?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. And the reason being is that one of the things that they did do as everybody was in survival mode. So they had to communicate. Even through the songs, the old slave songs that we wade in the water, those songs were not so much songs, but that was a way they communicated through the songs and what they said and how they said it. So people were, they were a community together, and they worked together to try for survival.
Absolutely.
Because I think my next question goes to the prison system and segregation in prisons. And during slavery time, we were black people out there, but we were separated as well.
Of course.
The light people were in the house, the dark people were in the field. My history. So when I look at the prison system, they separate us there too. We're separated by the gang affiliation we're with, or Hispanics with Hispanics, mostly white with white. What do y'all think about the prison system and the segregation in prisons? I kind of understand why they have to do that, especially with gangs, but is it necessary?
My take on it is this. I used to be a correction officer.
Okay.
It's not so much that they separate them, but on the outside, the gang affiliations, black, white, when they get inside, then they gravitate to, the blacks going to gravitate to the blacks and the whites. It's not so much the prison system is segregating them. It is us with our mentalities who separate each other. And I believe that if every man would realize that we are equal and we are the same because God created us that way. We have decided since birth that no matter if you put me and her together, someone is going to look at us and say, well, who's the better out of them two? They're going to put us against each other automatically to measure up as men. Who is he smarter, or is he more handsome? And so that's how we have the mentality until we change the mindset of men that they don't have to be alienated or isolated to one particular group or color. Then some changes can be made. I don't necessarily think it's a prison thing, but it works for them because the Latins or the Mexicans, they deal primarily with themselves, the Caucasians primarily with themselves, and the blacks with themselves. And then the Asians, they with themselves for survival. So you're going to kind of gravitate towards who you're comfortable with, so you can survive.
Yeah.
Right, who you know. It's not just from a survival standpoint, it's habitual because we're habitual by nature, right? If these are the people that you're more comfortable with and you walk into a realm and you don't know anybody, that's where you're going to gravitate to.
Correct.
Just from that standpoint. Like my father's in Afghanistan right now, right? And so he even talks about how all the Afghans, they look exactly the same, but there's still a difference that they implement themselves on what tribe is this and who has money and this, that, and so that's just a flaw of human nature, right? And so the reason, as we go back to the slavery situation, the reason that there were white slaves, but white slaves could fool anybody and act like they're not a slave.
Right.
So they brought us over here on purpose so we would absolutely stand out, and you can know that that was a Negro or that was a slave from that standpoint.
Correct.
So it just some of these issues that we have, these issues, we look at it from a standpoint of black and white. But some of these issues, like I said, these are all over the world. Even when you go to China, there's people, right, it's the same thing, that people are always, like you were saying earlier, trying to make a difference, putting us against each other, trying to see who's the best.
So do you guys think, and this is for men and women, do you think that we're in some type of prison form in our heads as individuals?
I think we are, because we as human beings always tend to look at the next man or next woman, what they have, what they don't have, what they can do and what we can't do. In some sense, we don't really sit back and look, what did we do for ourselves to get to the level that they're at?
Correct.
Everybody looks at the now picture, but they don't look at the trail of where you got to. How did you get there? So we'll see somebody successful, and you be like, man, he got lucky. Was it really luck? It was a lot of hard work. There's a lot of actors, movie stars, artists that been in the business and the game for 10, 15, 20 years
Before they get a break.
before they had their opportunity. And somebody been in there for 2 years talking about, man, but they don't know that he had or she had to pay out of their pocket on these tours.
Correct.
Yeah.
They had to go around.
It's
and
work.
just because sometimes you carried by a big label doesn't mean you're going to move as faster.
Exactly.
It helps, but guess what? They still have to put in the work. So it's all a mind thing. It's depending on what you do within yourself.
So I guess this is going to be like two questions in a sense. In the 154 years since slavery was abolished, are we really making positive changes, or are we taking 10 steps back? And about the mindset and how people are to me, still imprisoned in some way in their mind. How do we break that? Because the mindset plays a big, big part.
Well, when you look at slavery, we're not the only ones that were enslaved. There have been slaves for thousands of hundreds of years. There will be slaves for thousands of hundred years later. Okay? One of the things that we have to pay attention to is the psychology of slavery. We got to go back and we have to look at the Spartans. We have to go back and we have to look at the Greeks. We have to go back and we have to look at what was the process that they went through after slavery. The things that black folk are going through now, we're supposed to. We are on line to recovering and healing ourselves. There's when you take a generation of people and you train them some kind of way, and then you give them a freedom, there's a balance that has to take place. And we're in the process of rebalancing who we are. Freedom is in our DNA. Black ruled the world for about 9,000 years. Everybody else has ruled the world for about 3,000. Leadership, control, power, knowledge, it's in our DNA. All you got to do is just give us the opportunity and our DNA will take over. Look, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams. You give a black person the opportunity and their DNA will take over.
Okay.
I agree with that to a certain extent, but some of the things that are implemented, or like as you say, that was trained to us, right? As we look at what was trained to us to break that training, and we've all heard the story of the lady calling her grandma and say, well, why do we cut the butts off of the, right? So that was passed down from generation to generation. One of the reasons that us as black people, that we're so strict on our kids, especially in public, because my grandfather, who's 88 years old right now, he grew up in Leeds, Alabama. And so we were out one day and we saw somebody whooping their kids. And he just kind of shook his head and he said, you know what, I used to get whoopings like that, but you know why? I said, why? He said, because they were lynching black people at the time. So your mother, rather she killed you than a white person killed you because you was out there acting foolish. So it's a lot of these things that are implemented within our culture that we have no idea that we look at as the norm. The other part to that, the other flip side to that, is that we literally built, and I agree with what you're saying about the 9,000 years. It's not a lot of people that know that. So, but I'm with you. So with that being said, on the flip side of that, we're looking at the conditioning and the extent of how horrible slavery was for us. Slavery was not that hard for a lot of other cultures to where they could literally pay and get themselves out of slavery. They were indentured servants at the time. Our slavery, the ramifications of our slavery is still within our culture today, to where they gave us the scraps and we built our whole community on the scraps of what they left us.
That's powerful.
We're the only community that don't have a flag, that don't have a culture, and they did that by on purpose. Now, I've been to Goree Island. I don't know if you know what Goree Island is. That's where they held the slaves, right? So I've been to Africa. I've been in huts with Fulani tribes. I've talked to gurus, the whole nine, right? When they brought people there, there's one room that the sand is still brown. They cut the women open that were pregnant, killed the babies, stumped the fetuses in the sand, sewn them back up, and then put them in the ships because they wanted to on purpose breed Negroes here. They didn't want us to have our culture. They didn't want, so we as a people, as you talked about in our DNA, we took the scraps and made soul food from it. Right. And now that's what we took, all the little things that they did. A lot of the fathers that are not in the homes right now, those fathers that are not in the homes, they took the strongest slaves and bred them, and they just took them from hut to hut. And so now when you say Papa is a Rolling Stone, where did that come from, right? So they broke our families up. So a lot of the ramifications that we have, it sounds like, we just imprison in our mind, this, that, and the other, and we just need to do this, or we just need to do that. And I'll agree with you from a standpoint of we are going through that process to get there, but then there's so many people that are not educating their kids and their offspring. And last thing that I'm going to add to it is that when we were fighting for our civil rights as a people, you look at it to where all we wanted to do was to show that we were just as good as everybody else, like you were saying a little bit earlier, Bishop, right? We were just as good as everybody else. All we needed is the opportunity. Look at how they were holding us down, right? So when you look at it from that standpoint of it, you're looking at generation and generation of that mindset of being taught and being trained. And then when we had the opportunity, we were just like, okay, now we all need to go to work and show them that we're just like everybody else. Just be quiet and do the work, and our work is going to show it, so we can have pensions, so we can have retirements and such. But we stop pushing the envelope, and we
Exactly.
stop educating the generation up under us to where all we got to do is be quiet
Yeah.
and work.
Right.
We just work so hard. We got to do twice as hard to get half of what they
And
have.
I think in
right.
this day and time, being quiet, that's not working no more.
Nope.
We have to be able to
Agreed.
speak, and we have to be confident in what we say and not backstep when we do speak, and then the wrong person saying, well, I didn't, you know, and all that. So we don't speak up. But what I want to do is take a quick break, because I'm going to be talking to my 15-year-olds.
All right.
All right.
And then we're going to be back. And when we come back with you guys, we'll be talking about police brutality
Oh.
and
Nice.
why black men are killing each other.
Nice.
So we'll be right back, and I'm coming back with my 15-year-olds.
All right.
Back now with my two 15-year-olds, and I have Jarian, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
And I
AKA
have-
J3.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have John here with me. So I'm going to start with Jarian. Being diagnosed dyslexic, tell me about the struggles you faced.
Well, being diagnosed
As a
with
kid.
dyslexia was, at the time, the worst day of my life. And some of the struggles that I was faced with was bullying, being picked on, like people just trying to label me as a very slow person because I was getting one-on-ones and things like that. And that led to depression, suicidal thoughts, and other things like that.
Okay. So did the struggles make you want to go down the wrong path, or prove that they were wrong?
Yes, ma'am. I would say at first the struggles did make me want to go down the wrong path, was leading me down the wrong path, because I want to show them, no, man, I'm just like y'all. Like, I could do what y'all do, so it led to me skipping and fighting and things like that. But once I got in ministry, it became a more so, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to show y'all that I ain't the person y'all trying to make me seem like I am.
So what did your parents instill in you with you being dyslexic? What did your parents instill in you as growing up to not go down the wrong path?
They've always told me just be a leader and not a follower. And that's really what he brung us up off. Don't do something just because you see somebody else doing. Be your own person, because they might turn back around and follow you because they see what you're doing. In many cases that happen with me being a leader.
Tell us about J3 Ministries.
Well, J3 Ministry, it really goes beyond the music. I want to be somebody that can mentor kids that's going through things, like kids that's less fortunate. I want to help families, because we was in that position at one point in time. And I just want to relate to the kids and let them know that God still loves you. He there for you. Even when he feel like he not there, he's there. And I just want to spread the love of God to the youth and let them know that it's going to be all right.
Okay. So when we get ready to close out the show, you're going to close out my show with one of your songs, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to talk to John now. So John, how are you today? Tell me something. You recently got into some trouble at school. What have you learned from this? First of all, you want to tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, so me and my friends, we playing they playing, and we brought edibles to school, and one of the dudes ate it in class, and the teacher walked in, and she could smell it, so I was like, man, we about to get in trouble. So then that's when the principal came in and took him, because he ate it in class, and then he snitched on everybody. So then that's why I got in trouble for my second offense.
So what did you learn from this? Because you bringing edibles to school, that could have went down the wrong path. in so many directions. What have you learned from this so far?
Man, I learned really just to chill out and like not always try to be cool. Just worry about myself.
So so you weren't being bullied, you was actually trying to be cool and fit in with the cool kids?
I'm cool at school.
Oh,
I'm cool.
Okay.
It's just that.
Okay.
So,
Okay. How are you? I don't even know where to go with that. How do you feel that you were cool? You cool because you brought the edibles to
no,
school, or
like I'm cool before that. Like everybody know me in the whole school.
So why did you feel you needed to bring edibles to school if you were already cool and fit in with everybody?
It's cause like we planned it and like it was supposed to be after school, but they wanted it during school. And I told them like, if you're gonna eat it in school, do it in the restroom because like it's like over 1,000 kids. They won't know who really did it if you do it in the restroom.
So y'all had this planned out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop right there with that. We're not gonna go in. Yeah, you had this planned out. So how do you think that impacted your parents? Because you getting into trouble.
My mom, she don't really trust me no more as much as she did before. And my dad, he's like disappointed because I've already got in trouble for it once. Why would I do it again?
So, I mean, you're not planning on doing this again, are you?
No.
So what have you learned from this experience?
If I'm gonna do something like that, don't like.
What?
No, I mean like.
Wait.
If I'm gonna like bring it to school, like I'm not gonna bring it to school no more. Like if my friends want it, they gonna buy it themselves. Like tell somebody else to do it.
Okay. Let me see where I want to go with it. First of all, I'm going to say to you, those people that you're calling your friends that have these conversations with you about that kind of stuff, that's not your friends. So I would suggest you find a new circle of friends that are talking about positive things, because if you guys are sitting around having conversations about bringing edibles to school, and I don't know, your daddy can I say what I want to say? You shut down a whole field trip.
I didn't shut down no field trip. They did.
But
I had nothing to do with it.
how did you have nothing to do with this? You shut down a whole. Okay, we're gonna move on. What advice? Do you have any advice that you want to give a young man that's going down this path? Because you've gone down this path twice, and this last time could have caused you even bigger ramifications. You need to find some new friends. That's gonna be my advice to you. But what advice would you have for someone else that's having conversations with their homeboys about bringing edibles to school?
Don't bring it to school. Just do it at home.
Huh?
If you want. If don't bring it to school, like, boy, you gonna get in trouble. Just stop doing the drug. If you
Wait. Okay. Okay. You and whoever these are friends, you need to. I don't even know what to say. Because I get you. You saying don't bring it to school, just do it at home or something like that. You just said to me. What about don't do it at all?
I mean, some people addicted to it.
So their mindset is not.
Yeah.
What I was talking to the men earlier. Their mindset is not in the right place, so they feel it's okay to do it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're basically saying? Okay. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna bring my men back, and we're gonna open up about police brutality, why black men kill one another, and we'll probably have a conversation about the conversation I just had with you. So we'll be right back. Now, and my second segment was very interesting from the advice I got from a 15-year-old about not doing something that is illegal in the state of Texas. So I want to bring my panel back, and we're really supposed to be coming into police brutality, but I think we need to touch on what John, my 15-year-old, said about the edibles. He said, don't do it at school, but you can do it at home.
Once again, when we talk about things that we're not, and you know, we as men now, we have to understand we was 15 before. There was a lot of peer pressure. Regardless of trying to be cool or trying to fit in, we always did stuff that we weren't supposed to do. There are going to be times where, yeah, if they don't see you, then you're not in trouble. But whatever you do in the dark will come to the light. You know, God always give us second chances, so we learn from the first mistake. Then you do the same thing. There's a second mistake. You know, they do say 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
When you're become 17 in the state of Texas, it's called grown up, adulthood now, because now you're not a child no more doing immature things.
Yeah.
You're considered an adult doing the bad things. You can get incarcerated. You can lose a lot of your livelihood. And your so-called quote unquote friends, they still hooping. They still going to the mall. All they can say is, dang, John, you heard about John?
Yeah.
And guess what? They won't even come and put money on John books.
Correct.
Because you know the prison charges them $20 to $60 a day.
Yes.
To
And
stay
the
there.
thing is, you know, it's not the point of, you know, it's easy for us now as adults to look back and tell someone you need to find some new friends. It's easy to say that. But when you're around that every day, constantly, growing up, it's not as easy to pull away, because depending on how deep you're in, as far as that bond as your friend, you know, it's like that's my homie from kindergarten, you know, or that we've been down for everything, you know. But it didn't start at school. It started in the neighborhood. I'm not going to even say it started at home, because we can have a tight ship at home
And still find stuff in the
Still
neighborhood.
and
Cracks.
still
Yeah.
find something through the cracks.
Correct.
Because we all have to work at some point in time to keep lights on, a roof over our head.
Correct.
But then guess what? Oh man, that's boring. Let's do this, let's do that. Hey, try this, this is cool. You have problems. Guess what? This is what they say to get rid of the problems. That's why a lot of kids do these things, because they feel that they're under pressure, the depression, the stress. So they do things that can free their mind, but not really realizing when it come off, one, you're gonna have a headache and those problems still gonna be there. So I think as men, we don't need to look down and criticize and beat kids down on doing things like that. We need to actually show them how to get other friends. What is the big consequences in real life? What can it do to stop you from getting ahead in life? Because we already have a battle. We are, as African American men, we have to go to that extra measure. We have to go through that extra step to get on top. We have to prove ourselves. There's, you know, well, you might know somebody, but guess what? That somebody may not put you on until he really or she really feels that you're capable of doing that and not making them look bad. So as African American men, we need to educate our young and just let them know that, hey, you made a mistake once or twice, okay. But at some point, we have to let them and tell them they have to man up and get these responsibilities. We, you know, I have kids. I've gone through a lot of issues myself. I've been called the worst thing in life. I've been not liked. But you know what? At the end of the day, my oldest, she's even now a doctor.
Yeah, she is.
In the 7th grade, I was Father F-face. I would never let her do anything.
Okay.
I would never let her go nowhere. I couldn't let her have boyfriends. She had to have this and she had to do that. And guess what? She beat the odds. At 27 years old, we had her PhD in chemistry.
So I salute
Yeah.
you. Jay,
Watch
for
out
that.
now. I think what you said is so true, and as J3 said, you know, he wants to be a leader. And I think that that's something that we as fathers, when we have our sons and our daughters, we have to instill in them their self-worth, and also to allow them to do a little things, but you got kind of redirect them when they trying to veer off the wrong path. My parents, when I grew up in the time, in the era where don't do it because I say don't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do my children like that. My children are grown, but when they were coming up, when they did some things, I would sit down and break it down to, now this is why you don't do a certain thing. This is why, because I give them the whole nine, where it could end up, where it could possibly go, what, you know. But my parents were, you don't do it. You can't smoke because I say don't smoke. So it left me with the idea that I still was curious and I wanted to try it because you told me don't do it. So therefore, I want to do it.
Right.
In his case, the edibles is not, it's not the end of the world. But he's at the age now where dad, mom, uncle, or the village can say, hey, look, it's drug use no matter where you look at it. If anything is controlling your mind, controlling your mood, controlling your thought process to cause you to not be sober in any way, you don't need to do it. Because you're going to need that mind to help, to not only to guide you down the road, but to help guide other people. Because you're going to grow old and you're going to have wisdom at some level, even as you grow. So you have to remember that, and that stuff is killing brain cells. And the stuff that they're injecting into it is causing people to do some strange things. But we have to get him now and let him know that, hey, just because everybody else is doing it, you have an accountability to your family, you have accountability to yourself to not do it, because you are your own person, you are your own man, and you're making your own footprint. You're not making steps for everybody else, you're doing it for yourself. So what you do now can and will affect you later on in life. So that's why you have to make sure. I made a lot of mistakes.
So we're going to come back to that with our young men. We're going to come back to that, but I want to get a little bit into the police brutality. So my first question for you guys is, when it comes to police brutality in 2019, do you think police officers are in fear for their lives, or they just racist? Or bad cops all the way around?
I think police brutality is our fault as a black community.
Why do you think that?
Nah, I'm gonna let everybody else say. I mean, I really feel it's our fault. But you guys, you're all more than welcome.
But why do you feel that way? We can't just put that out and you don't tell me why.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
It's just that there's other people, and bottom line is, we're in a situation of war. People want to kill us. This is a reality. Why are we wasting time about the morality of police brutality? That's supposed to happen. That has always been happening. What our responsibility is to make sure that we raise our children and put together systems where they pay for it. See, as black leaders, we have to not address police brutality and get them to stop killing us. What we have to do is make sure they pay for it. Every black person in America should have a whole life insurance. Because as the amount of black folk that are being killed by police, that's a massive amount of money going to be pumped into the community. Yes, I know mothers and fathers are without sons, but now mothers or fathers are without sons and they got $100,000 and they're not trying to raise money on GoFundMe.
So, do you feel, I think when it comes to that, you don't think their training should be different?
Well, their training won't change until we have the money to change their training. We need to stop wasting time trying to get people who want to kill us to change their behavior. We have to make them change their behavior. If we don't make them change their behavior, they won't. Period.
I think that their training needs to be changed, because any dollar that is allotted for training, whatever that training is that they get now, it ought to include sensitivity training. It ought to include all of the things necessary.
Mental health?
Yes. Mental health, because they have to deal with a wide scope of everything, a plethora of everything.
But they have that training.
And the mind, well, okay, they may have that training, but at the same time, why isn't it displayed on an average call?
Because they're not punished for it.
Well, that is true. That is true. They are not punished for it, but at the same time, why can't they, because not we, I'm not a police officer, but why can't they, when it's on an average call, we getting somebody stopped for Sandra Bland case, traffic violation. She ends up dead. So many have traffic violations, get pulled over, end up getting shot in the car, and it's primarily our race. And I can't agree with the fact that we're doing it to ourselves, or it's I can't say that.
Well, that's my next question. So, in certain situations, over the years, you might get pulled over, get stopped. Do you think that we as a people, and I'm not just talking about black people, just any individual, when you get pulled over by them because they're there, they're the law, we have to still follow the law. We're living here in the United States. So do you feel that some individuals, instead of just go along, and you might know that he's wrong all day long, but just go along with whatever he's commanding you to do to avoid it from escalating?
I believe in that. I mean, granted, if they're talking down to you, yeah, you can speak up for yourself. But if they're giving you commands, simple stuff, come get out of the car, give me your driver's license, all of this extra stuff that people are doing now, as we see. I don't have to give you this, I don't have to give you that. Call your sergeant, call your lieutenant. All these things. The average traffic stop is supposed to take about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. You're elongating the whole process by being combative and confrontational, and then of course they're not going to get off the gas and you're not going to get off the gas, and then it always escalates into something that it shouldn't. If we would, and I know my mother always told, just do what they say, but we've seen in that backfires, where they do everything that's told of them and it's still so
that's where the fear. That's why I asked, are they fearful? Are they just racist? Are they just bad police officers?
So here's what I believe. I believe that there's a multitude of things. As you look at a problem that's multi-layered, you have to have a multi-layered solution. So as we talk about that, everything that Big Hurt said, you could definitely, we need that, right? So when you talk about making sure that our things are in order, as far as our black families or whatever the case may be, totally agree with you. When you talk about training from the bishop, I definitely agree with you. Sometimes I feel as if when it comes to our people, it's everybody wants it to be one solution. We have to do what Big Hurt said, right?
It's
not, and it's not. So everybody is not born to do the same thing, and everybody doesn't have the same talent or God-given gift. So what we need to do is really work and say, I have this part of it, and it's kind of like a potluck dinner, right? So everybody brings what they're really good at to the table and respect that person, because there's other people that say we need to literally police our own communities, and I agree with that.
We don't do that anymore.
Right, and we don't. We used to do it at once upon a time, but we don't do that anymore. So with that being said, there's a lot of people that are not militant enough, or they don't have enough discipline to really roll that aspect of it out, right? But for those that do, then that's a great viable solution to one of the aspects of the problem. So when we look at these types of things, and we look at how slavery impacted the prison system, the where we are right now with police brutality, we're not in a situation to where it's going to be one solution that's going to take care of this. We have to really learn how to come together, respect each other's God-given gifts, and say, I need somebody to educate our people to do that, so that's what you do. So the training aspect, I need somebody to roll that out or piggyback on that. And I really feel like that's, if we start to look at the problem from that aspect of it, our solutions come to the light a little bit different.
So you're basically saying the black community needs to be a community.
Absolutely.
And
I don't think we are
and a lot of
anymore, to be
times
honest.
we want to act like a community, but we don't want to do what community does.
I think we're a community when things happen
Yes.
to our race and community, and that was one of my questions as well. Why do we? And I'm not.
And we
I'm
don't
not
show
trying
up
to judge, but why do we always jump on the bandwagon when something happens to one of our race?
Yeah, we show up to
And
talk.
may that be African American, may it be white, may it be Hispanic. Why do we always jump on the bandwagon? We don't know the whole story. And when that person played a part in what happened to them to fuel their death or whatever the situation was, we don't bring up what that person did.
Right.
And I'm just a right is right, wrong is wrong. We have to look at it. We have to look, to me, you have to look at the whole picture.
Right.
Right, and I totally,
we don't.
I totally understand that. When you say we don't, that sounds good, right? But when a guy walks into a church, and we were just talking about this a minute ago, and killed 9 people, and the police take him to Burger King, that's something totally
Yeah,
different.
yeah. Right.
When you have a 12-year-old boy that's just out there playing by himself, and it's definitely a play gun, and no questions are asked, and he's killed in a matter of seconds.
So that goes back to the first question. Are you fearful in this job that you have? Are you just racist? Are you just a bad cop all the way around?
It's a legal thing, actually. As dealing with personal protection and being former military, there's certain laws and certain words that you have to say in order to get away with murder.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah,
things that
yeah.
you have to say in order to get away with
Literally.
murder. Yeah, and one of the things you have to say in order to get away with murder is that you feared for your life. The law protects you for that.
Yeah.
And and here's the deal. You're like, oh,
well-
why don't you just shoot him in the leg or shoot him in the arm? Do you know you can go to jail longer for shooting somebody in the leg or arm than kill?
Yeah.
If you kill that person, then you had no other option. You know, if you have a concealed handgun and you shoot somebody, unload on them. Do not just shoot them once.
And I've always said, because I used to.
Unload on them, and then when you unload on them, and you're standing in front of the judge or whatever, you don't say I had to kill him. You say I had to stop him. You say I feared for my safety, and he had to be stopped. Because if you say the word I had to kill him, then that means you were premeditating murder. It's all about the way you use words.
It's wording.
And since our community doesn't understand words, we don't understand how to combat it, because you don't see them killing any Jewish children, any Asian children, any white children, and saying, "Oh, I felt for my safety," because in that they will come back with the attorney and they'll have something else. Us, they can do that.
And that's exactly what the police chief in Baytown said about the cop. He said that he had to stop the assailant. He had to
Well,
stop him.
their mentality, and we had an incident probably about 20 years ago here in Houston, and at the time I was dating an officer, and I asked him, I said, she basically outright told y'all she had a mental problem. You guys knew she had a mental problem. She stole the HPD car. This was years ago. And she stole the car, got on their speakerphone in their car, and told them, I want y'all to kill me because X, Y, Z, tell my kids you kill me. This was years ago here in Houston. And when they caught up with her, she had a knife. And I guess she was trying to approach the officer with a weapon and he shot her and he killed her. And I asked my friend, I said, why didn't they shoot her in the leg or something like that? He said, we're not trained that way. When we have someone that's attacking us, their thing is we have to stop.
Stop the threat.
We have to stop the threat, and that's their. So I don't know. I don't know how they can go around that at this point, because the case you're talking about, I don't want to talk about it, but she got one of his weapons from him. So I'm not trying to take up for them, but in that incident, that was his mentality. Let me stop the threat. It might have been something different. We don't know. It's still open.
Oh.
But I mean,
when you go to the gun range, all right, for any time, you get most points from the neck to the torso.
Mm-hmm.
You get very little points for the head. You get very little points for the arm.
Yeah.
Now I'm training and shooting a target for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years, neck, torso.
yeah, you really
That's
supposed
what
to
I'm going
shoot
to
them in that
do
area.
in a pinch of danger. Period.
I had to be commissioned, and when
Yeah.
I would go and to get commissioned a long time ago, I would shoot in the head, because
Yeah, but you don't get that many points from a headshot.
I shoot you in the head, but that was just me. But really, you are supposed to.
See, I love
You know,
powerful
hey, we
women.
just
Yeah.
we just in there because I don't even shoot to the chest. You still might get us.
See?
Yeah, but we don't. So, with that information, that leads to the next question because we have a lot. And correct me if I'm wrong, but growing up years ago, I do not think, and I might be wrong. Please correct me if we had as much black on black crime as we have now. We have so many black men killing each other over senseless things.
This is true. I won't say it's more now. I would say it probably was more then. But the thing of it is, we have cameras now.
Yeah. So you
And-
think that's
and
why you
everybody-
get to see everything?
Everybody is highlighting it. Everybody is putting
Yeah.
it up on Facebook. They were killing us a long time. Been killing us a long time. And there are some of the killings that has never got any attention, media attention. And so
Well, I'm specifically talking about
Black
we
on
killing
black.
each other.
And well, that's another thing. You know, I never have, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that why do we kill each other? I think it's a mentality. It's a thing. Whereas if we're and men, black men, we say this all the time that we're warriors and God created us with the mandingo, with this, that, and the other. But the fight is not with ourselves. We're not here to fight ourselves. If we're warriors and we're in this army, you can't be an army of one. You have to empower yourself and get with other great, strong, as they're like this panel, strong men who are warriors also, and we can take the fight, and it's not a physical fight. We're trying to take back our streets. We're trying to take back our communities. We're trying to take back our families. We're trying to take back our way of life, because guess what? They're going to continue to do, like Hurt said, they're going to continue to annihilate us in the streets, and then they're going to continue to put us against one another so that
That's what they're supposed to do.
yeah, divide and conquer, and it's working for them. And so we have to get to a place where we can educate our brothers and let them know that, hey man, this fight is not against the Bloods or the Crips or the whomever. The fight it's a demonic thing, first of all, that we'll put towards one another in that area, in that aspect where we feel like we need to harm one another, or I get you before you get me. But we can show love and we can win and we can start taking back some of the stuff that God has already given to us. Because we're the only race that don't really own very much of anything.
So
That's
black on black crime was less back then than it is now. One of the reasons why black on black crime was less back then than it is now is because black folk worked with one another.
We were that
Mama
community.
had a business, daddy had a business, grandma had a business. Somebody was working for somebody and with somebody within the black community.
And then you had the village down the
Right,
street.
and
if
now
you got in trouble.
everybody black works for somebody. There is no connection and no obligation to not kill each other because we have no connection or obligation for further future problems. That's one. 27 million small businesses. 27 million people are employed by white small-owned businesses. 1 million people are employed by black small-owned businesses. When before integration, 100% of black folk, 90-something% of black folk were employed by black folk and or were entrepreneurs. That's not today.
Right. That sounds
ahead.
good. That totally sounds good. And you 100% accurate.
No, give
right.
it to me.
Right. But you have to think about when you look at the burning of Black Wall Street and things that people have done to make sure that black businesses are not up and running, right?
But the burning of
So-
Black Wall Street was Black Wall Street's fault.
When you say that, I don't understand what do you mean by that.
Where were the black men with their weapons? Where were the
Right,
black?
so
you
I'm-
cannot
I'm-
excuse
right, I
that.
to- I
We
totally-
have to be
So when you-
serious
right.
about protecting what's ours.
And I get that, but that definitely puts us in a lose-lose situation.
No, it doesn't.
Point in time, just hear me out.
Go ahead.
So at the point in time that we do not have a weapon and we get killed, right? It's so many times that we're looking at, as we talk about police brutality, so many times that we don't have a weapon or a toy weapon, or somebody's walking in Walmart with the toy gun or whatever the case may be, or you just selling loose cigarette or whatever the case may be, and you just getting pulled over, you don't have a weapon and you still wind up dead.
Right.
To say to give them a weapon is a way to to empower them to protect our own people, like where do we go? Because if we don't have a weapon, they walking other people out of schools and out of churches and taking them to Burger King. They doing all of these things for them. They're not doing that for us. So how do we, like, where's the balance?
There's
right?
no balance.
Right, exactly. There
There's
is
no
no
balance. You can't look for the balance.
Right, but so your bread and your pedigree is totally different. That goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? So when you say that, you can't tell a Sandra Bland that you need to have a weapon. You can't tell all black people they need to have a weapon.
Why not?
You just can't, family.
Why not? We're getting killed anyway.
Right.
So give us reasons
you
to
just
die.
Can't. You just can't, because everybody's not bred that way.
No.
Everybody's
the ones
pedigree.
that aren't bred, they don't have weapons. The ones that are do, and the ones that do have weapons protect those who don't.
Right. So, but you're not always with the community that's gonna protect you.
Correct.
You still have to go out there in the real world. I'm just saying the conversation that I had earlier about everybody having their own superpower, their own God gift, and you do exactly what you do, right? You can't ask. My aunt is a teacher. She's been a teacher for 40 years, right? She's like a year away from retiring right now, right? You cannot ask my kindergarten auntie teacher to have a weapon, and she's not always going to be protected from that standpoint. So there has to be another chain to come. We need teachers, right? We can't say don't teach, just get a weapon. I need you to do what you do, but we all can't be that way. And to look at it from that standpoint, we all can't be business owners.
Correct.
You already know, to be a business owner, you gotta grind till the wheels fall off. You already know that. You know the nights that you have to stay up. If you look statistically, it's more entrepreneurs that are committing suicide than anybody else, only because we got this greatness in us. We see where we're trying to go, and nobody else can see our vision. Sometimes that drives me crazy. I almost said the wrong thing, right? But I'm just gonna say that drives me crazy, right? So from that standpoint of it, we can't expect everybody. What we need to do is have a big vision solution. So black on black crime, that sound good, but people kill where they live. White on white crime is only 8% difference of black on black crime, but ain't nobody talking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm with you 100%. Let's say you head the militia. Boom. You go over in that corner, get all your boys with the guns, y'all head the militia, do what you do, get down how you live. My man right here, we go get the training. You see what I'm saying? But we all have to respect that whole, when you say, why can't we all have guns? That's one of the biggest problems, because to me that means that you don't respect what somebody else do, and now you pushing somebody into a whole outside of their comfort zone.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What I'm saying is that, let me say it another way. What you're saying is absolutely correct.
Oh, man.
Okay? It still doesn't change the fact that Black Wall Street was attacked, not anybody with no resistance, period. There was no resistance.
Right.
Now you can come up with reasons why and that blah, 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 but the fact of it remains that without any resistance, there's no way for us to build anything.
Right.
That's the reality.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead and
No,
finish.
now there are 50,000 reasons why somebody can't carry a weapon, or why somebody can't carry a militia. But you must understand, without the proper protections, we are going to get the poop. Period.
Right. And I get that. But from a different standpoint, when everybody's looking at us like, if I have on the same thing that, let's say, my partner has on, I'm viewed as a thug. I wear suits every day. You probably can't, if you go on my feed, you won't be able to find me without a suit jacket on. The reason I wear a suit every day, because when I was 19 and I put a suit on, I was not as threatening as everybody else who had their t-shirts on.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
So hold on. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna press pause on what y'all got
We
going
don't
on
have time
here.
for a break. So
We're gonna take a quick break, because that goes into the next segment of
Okay.
where you guys are. But I think what I'm getting from this is community, and your mindset needs to come back, because
Yeah.
the community is gone. but everybody has to have the correct mindset. So we're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to continue with the last segment. Then we'll have J3 close us out. So we'll be right back. We're back with our last segment with these men. So we're going to be talking about men and relationships. Now, I'm not talking about dating. So we're not talking about dating. That's a whole nother show. It's a whole nother show. But where would you guys say we should start with young men to form better relationships with each other and just anybody without being able to learn how to talk and not fight? Because you guys have been sitting here and having dialogue back and forth on the different topics we talked about, and none of y'all have gotten up, thrown a plan or thrown anything across the room.
I think it starts with what you just said, with the communication. You know, with the young men and the young ladies that that are coming up under us, even within the neighborhood. My father, again, he was a pastor, but he was not a great orator. He was not a good communicator. And it was, don't do certain things because he said it, and most of the time he didn't want you to talk, because we grew up in that area where we couldn't interject in a conversation with adults in the room. So and then it was the same way. He just didn't instill a lot of knowledge. He showed us how to do a lot of things, but just sitting down explaining things. And I think that is the disconnect between even myself, and I had to rethink a lot of things and then revamp myself with my children, because I didn't want to be the father to my children that he was to me. And so I had to learn how to express myself and be as candid and as transparent as I possibly could, because I tell my boys and I tell my girls anything, because I want them to be able to trust me and open up to me. And I think that's how we build solid relationships.
Okay. Anybody else?
I came back from Iraq and I was messed up. PTSD, survivor guilt, all kinds of stuff. I had to relearn how to be in relationships with people. And one of the ways that I relearned how to build my relationship with people is therapy. You know, black men need to tell other black men to go see a therapist. And I'm not talking about, and no offense.
That's black people in general.
Yeah, but no offense.
We don't.
I'm not talking about going to church.
Right.
A pastor is not a therapist. A pastor is not a licensed mental health person. Now, can they give you stuff to keep you going? Yes, and I really love what the churches are doing. But people within the black community must encourage dealing with self. We talk about how we were traumatically hurt through slavery, and talked about how, you know, we're a lot of people in the black community are suffering from PTSD simply because somebody put a gun to their head who had a blue uniform on.
Right. Absolutely.
So what would you guys say about men building better relationships with women? I'm not per se talking dating. I'm communication lines again, being open up better, and I'm not just talking about somebody you're dating, even
Your mother, your sister,
women,
women.
Well, it all really boils down to women, children, other men. It's communication, and really knowing who you are.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know who they are.
Because if you don't know who you are, how can you help somebody become something better than where they are?
Yeah.
And you have to do a lot of self-help. Going to therapy, putting your life on the right path. You know, I've coached for 11 years youth basketball. So when it comes to kids, I listen. I don't sit there. They have parents.
Correct.
I want to be more of a mentor. I want to be that person that if they can't confide into their parents, they can confide into me. But of course, I'm still going to let the parents know, but I have to let the parents know, hey, I got this relationship. This is the angle that you might need to look out for, because this is whatever. But when you listen to the kids, sometimes as adults or parents, we tune them out, because why? We feel that they don't understand, they don't know nothing because they're young. And because they're young, we tend to tune them out. And then for some women, some men think you're just a woman. So why am I going, what you listening to? I'm just going to listen
And
to
we
you
don't know better.
and I'm just going to appease you to please me.
Yeah.
And basically that's what a lot of men do, because I tell my daughters all the time, if a guy always like what you like, he's not your guy.
That's right.
All of a sudden,
Because everybody's made different, so
Right.
we have to have our own different views on many things.
and I tell him, start saying stuff you don't like and see what he likes.
You are awesome. That's awesome.
Because
Switch it up.
yeah, and then you be like, well, you're not for me because I really didn't like that. Oh, me neither.
Well, the other thing, I think the other thing too is men in the black community need to give permission for other men to talk about their toxic mothers. All right? We get way too many excuses for black women in the community for being mothers. A lot of times, many black women are toxic, and we've got to address that because, yes, all mothers are supposed to love their children. Not all mothers love their children.
That's gonna be a part 2. We're gonna do a part. We're gonna do a part. Give me some quick, because they told me I gotta soon wrap up. Give me some quick business tips to share, but that's gonna be a part 2, because that's gonna be a whole it's gonna be a whole nother topic right there with the Give me 5 business tips for someone that's just starting in business, struggling.
I can do that.
Give me good 5 business tips quickly.
Okay, all right. So first and foremost, you definitely need to network. You need to meet as many people as possible. You need to show as many people what you do, what your God gift is, and you need to talk to those people and understand exactly what it is that you can provide with your product, your service, whatever it is. I would say that's number 1. Number 2, you need to realize that everything that you do, you are branding yourself. Everything that you do. I don't care when you complain on Facebook, you are branding yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like you need to keep some of those things under wraps. Everything that everybody wants to have a voice and they just want to put their voice out there. So keep in mind how you react to things and everything that you're doing, you're branding yourself.
Yes.
Number 3 is always give more. When I started my video production company, I started with charging $500 for videos, and I was making those videos look like $1,000 videos. So that's the only way that you will go up. If you always just give what people are paying for, you're not gonna get the testimonials that's needed to boost your business, and you're not gonna keep going up. So if you want 5 from each person, I'm gonna stop.
No,
right
we're
there.
gonna stop right there.
Right, I was gonna say I'm only gonna give you 3.
I just want to give you one.
Give me one.
Work on yourself. Can't build a network if you don't know how to deal with yourself. Can't keep a business going if you can't deal with all the doubts and problems you got on yourself.
Okay.
And keep your vision before yourself.
Ooh.
Not for the people, it's for you.
Okay.
Because guess what? You're gonna tell somebody what you want to do, and they're gonna tell you what they think you should do.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep the vision before
Here's
yourself.
a bonus.
Go.
Find somebody who's already done it and let them mentor you into it.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
That was some good tips. I need y'all to write them down for me.
I got my napkin.
I thought you said. I thought you meant 5 apiece. I didn't know that. So I was like, she's gonna get 20 tips out here. Like I was
No. I want to thank you guys for being here with me. My first day at Spear, so thank you guys very much for this show, this men's show. We got to definitely do a part 2, because we're gonna talk about that, what Hurt said about the women and the toxic mothers. So that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you guys for
Ratchet
coming.
days.
We're gonna close out this show with my 15-year-old J3. He's gonna do a song for us. But until next time, always empower, always encourage, and continue to remove your mask.
Hello, hello, hello. I just stopped by to remind you of how fabulous you are, how wonderful you are, how God made you to do wonderful and miraculous things in the world.
My name's J3. I'm 15 years old, and this song that I'm finna do is called Way Up. And it's basically just telling my testimony of the season that I was in. I was at a point to where I wanted to give up on God. I felt like he wasn't there with me. And then he came in and he showed me his love. And now I feel like I'm way up. I could do anything that I want to do with him involved in it. So this is just a song to minister to y'all. Beats. Yeah. Said I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. Yeah. Said I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. Yeah. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. Way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. Way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. Yeah. They'll never understand my calling. When I say that he done did it, ooh, no, I ain't stalling. When I get that new car, just know that I ain't ballin'. Cause I'm blessed, been through a lot of tests. Still ain't let the enemy get the best, so did I pass? So yes, getting tired of the slick. Said I'm different from the rest. Say I done shook back on them. Gotta get back from them. I've been on my grind. Don't got no time to play with you, cause I gotta get mine. He showed me signs that I'm designed to break through the chains, when I call on his name. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute now, I'm way up. They'll never understand what I've been through. Gone to school, same shoes, because the rent's due. I was ballin', well, I pretend to. Dyslexia had the best of me, but who knew that I'd get dismissed? Said I was built for this. Said I'm here right now just to tell you don't quit. And I do it for the kids that's less fortunate. I was going through some mess, well, you can say a test. Getting bullied by my peers, I was scared to fix my fears. Now I'm way up on them, we'll never give up on them. Some people really lost my trust. I've been down for a minute, now I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute, now I'm way up. I've been down for a minute, now I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay. I've been down for a minute, now I'm way up. I'm down for a minute, now I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay up. Down for now I'm way up. Just keep in mind he always with you, even through your down times. Meaning, now I'm way up, and you know that I'ma stay up. Take 3. Sweet.